All right, welcome out to the Gridiron 64 podcast. Where today we're going to be breaking down the Rockport-Fulton Pirate Navasota Rattlers game that was played this past Friday. I got the guys with me, Johnny and Tony, and we're going to break it down. We're going to give you our thoughts. All three of us were at the game, and it was a great game. Let me tell you, Rockport came up a little short. I think the score was 39-34, something like that. I think I got the score correct, but I tell you, it was a great game. Kind of disappointed that we came on the wrong side of the win, right? But if you went and you love football, this was a good game. It came down to the wire. They scored, Rockport scored, they scored, and it just came down to the Rattlers getting the final score. We had a few minutes left and couldn't get anything going. But there were so many things that happened for Rockport, things that we'll break down here and we'll talk about. So if the guys are ready, Johnny, how you doing this afternoon?
Doing good, doing good, doing good.
Tony?
I'm doing good, man.
And we're coming kind of early in the afternoon. Usually we do these podcasts in the late evening, but it's around 3 o'clock this afternoon. And so we were available, so we decided that we break down this game. So if you guys are ready, this time let's start off with the offense like we always do. And Tony, I'll let you start off. Your thoughts on Rockport's offense? These guys had a big night, man.
Yeah, I think the offense performed well. The offense put the team in position to win the game. There was a lot of contributors. John carried a lot of the load with over 300 yards rushing. Ryan did his part. Getting the first downs and really couldn't get nothing going for Devin. But I know that kid plays with heart, and there was a few times in there where he threw in some key blocks on those on those sweeps. To open it up for John. So everyone did a great job contributing on offense. The offensive line did good. Ace, had some passes that maybe could have been a little bit more on point. But for the most part, being a freshman quarterback in a big game, I think he did well. So I just think the offense, like I said, the offense, they put the team in position to win. When they needed a big first down or a score, they did it. They did their part to put the team in position. So, hats off to the offense for really performing in a big game like this and just executing on all cylinders.
Johnny?
Yeah, the offense I think did a pretty good job. I mean, I was impressed by the linemen. Um, Devin had a great game. I mean, he basically it was only just basically one side he couldn't get to was that left side. He couldn't outrun those guys going to that left side, and it was just pursuit angle on them. It was just uh, so it was hard. I mean, there was no way he was going to get around three guys going out there running with them. So, but he tried. He tried. Um, Ace again, like Tony said, I wish we could have been a little bit more on point, but he did complete some good passes. He did complete some good passes that kept us in the game. That's what we needed. We needed those passes in there. We just wish. I think we all wish that a lot of those passes would have felt better for us. I don't know whatever happened on the interception. I can't say that was actually that interception that bubble tip by everybody. Um, Everybody said it was incomplete, but the ball did bounce around a lot. So I I could, as a fan of Pirates, as a Pirate football player, I think it was incomplete, but it happened so fast. Many people rolling around. I mean, I can't say if it was an interception or not on that bubble tip. So it was like that was crucial right there. That turnover was crucial because we're about to score. We're getting ready to score. So that was big on us for us on that one. Chupi, man, he had one hell of a game. I knew he was having a big game. Never did I think it was a 300-yard performance. It was like when I saw that, it was like wow. But the more I thought about it, it was like you know I think it's one of the. I think it was like maybe our third play we busted. I think for the TD, the long TD, that first one. I can't remember what play it was. I mean, I don't remember what play it was, but I don't know how many plays we had ran. But right there, dude, just shows you the speed that he has. You know, he's not the tallest kid out there. You know, but for him to bust to that right side and outrun all the defenders, you know, chasing him, that was something. I think that was probably the most well one of the most exciting. You know, but that set up the team. You know that first series, that first drive set up the whole offense for the kids. You know, we gave up that first touchdown, but you know we responded back, and I think that was huge for us. You know that showed that we can score on them. You know, so it gave a lot of confidence to the kids. Um, then we had the score before the half. You know, you talk about, you know, we knew, all of us knew this was going to be a great game. Just scoring just with 0 seconds left on the clock. You know, so uh, the, the 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 way he just ran that ball, I mean, it was just I didn't think he was going to get in. You know, I was looking for him to step out of bounds. You know, save us a second. You know, but he was determined he was going to get that score. You know, wherever way he could. You know, that was huge. Um, but overall, man, it was. I think it was a good performance all the way around. I mean, these kids fought to the end. I mean, we gave up a late touchdown, and these kids still, with 3 minutes left on the clock, we were going to go down there and try to score. You know, I think we came 25 yards short or something like that. Um, hell, you know, I think many people said maybe it was a couple more seconds left on the clock to win the ball game. But remember, it was fourth down, so we would have had to turn over on downs. But I think that extra 10 seconds on the clock would have like helped us be a little bit more calm, because I think we did panic on those last two plays, especially that fourth down play. It was just too much going on. Um, I think we should have called that final last timeout. Um, and that was crucial. You know, as a coach's head, you're thinking, you know, you want to say that last time out, but you got to remember it was fourth down. There was not going to be another play. That play was stopped. You know, so however long that play was going to last, it was pretty much going to be over. Pretty much. So if we weren't going for a field goal, the field goal didn't matter then. So it was all going to. You had basically one play left. You know, so even though we got that first down, I don't think we would have got set back up to score another one or run another play. So I think that timeout should have been taken there. But then again, the adrenaline, everybody, what's going on? Because like I really loved how we just drove and drove and drove. How we hustled, hustled. You know, I'm not taking that away. I was very impressed about how we hustled down the field like that. Just drove and drove and drove. You know, clock winding down, clock winding down. You know, but how, you know, I probably would have done the same thing. Not, you know, worried about running that next play. You know, I probably would have been so far in that game that, you know, I would have forgotten about that last time out. You know, um, now not the point where like you're second thinking yourself. You know, that's at the point. That's not the time. You know, you're in the you're in the area of playoffs. Time running down. You got fourth down, and oh, let's do this. You know, but I think we would have gathered our thoughts together. I think we probably would have had a play better lined up than that, than just basically one receiver going downfield with three guys on him. So, um, but hey, hats off to the offense, though, man, for fighting to the very end.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with what you guys say with the offense. You know, let's start off with the offensive line, right? These guys block for 4 quarters. You know, when one of your backs gets over 300 yards, and I think your total offense is like 400, over 400 yards. Your line's doing a tremendous job. So, you know, hats off to the offensive line. They came out, they blocked, they opened up some holes, and uh, and we were running the ball. You'd easily say, you know, Navasota couldn't stop Rockport's run game at all. And I thought when we made our predictions that was one thing Rockport could do, would be to score on them. It just kind of seemed from the way that defense had given up points teams that I saw that weren't as strong offensively this year as compared to Rockport every game, right? So I thought Rockport's offense was better than some of the teams that put up 20, high 20s, early 30 points on that Navasota defense. It really didn't matter what their offense could do. I thought that our offense could score on their defense. So, and we did. Our offense pretty much every time they were there, we could move the ball at will. Now there were times that we didn't get a first down and we had to punt, but for the most part, those holes were there. You go back to your running backs and you talk a little bit about Devin. Not everyone's going to have a big night, but a lot of people would tell me, well, why are they running it this way? You have to keep that defense honest. You can't just go with John the whole time. You got to run it the other way every now and then. You got to keep those guys honest so that they know that play will happen, whether he gets a lot of yards or not. You got to continue to run those plays, and I thought that he did pretty good. Like you said, he blocked. So a lot of things you do, you may not have that touchdown or that 20-yard break, but you're doing a lot of the little things that matter. This kid's only a sophomore. He had to go from defense to offense. He didn't start off on the offense, but he had to jump in there when we lost Luke. So I thought he did a great job when he had to step in the regular season, and he continued to play hard. It's not the fastest kid out on the field either, but he's got a big heart. And I guess the future next year, or we'll have him at least 2 more years. It's going to look really good for Rockport. You turn it over to Ryan Wells. I think he had 94 yards. Don't know how many carries he had, but he was pretty close to 100. Don't know if he broke the 100. But this is a guy that, when we needed those 3 yards, man, there he is. You can count on him. And we saw all year long, it's hard to pull this guy down with just one person. He's going to drag 3 or 4 people. He did it all season. And he did it again when we needed him. And you can always count on him to get those 3 or 4 yards. And they're tough yards, but they mean a lot to this offense. He was a big part of the offense. This is a guy that started, in the backfield as a sophomore. This was his third year. It's sad to see him go, but he had 3 good years on varsity. Sophomore year he goes to the third round. His junior year he goes to the third round, and it's sad, that in the senior year he only went to the second round, but he went to the playoffs. This guy, went deep in the playoffs, and he was a big part of those. Um, you know, 3 round playoffs, and then again uh, on Friday night. So, it'll be a tough loss to lose him and not see him there next year. But what a great senior year he had. Stayed healthy, thank God. And now the next man up that'll take him up. It's going to have some big shoes to fill. And Ryan didn't start off as a fullback. He played all areas. I think as a sophomore, he was running uh, in the backfield doing different things. But it just shows you what kind of athlete this guy is. Put him in any position. We saw him play some defense, just an all-around football player. So he'll be missed. But hats off to him. He had a great season. Um, and we'll see what the future holds. I don't know if he's going to be playing any football in college or not, but had a heck of a 3-year varsity season here with the Pirates. And a lot of the reason Rockport went far, this guy played a big part in those games, in those playoff games that Rockport went the last 3 years. And then you turn it over to John Chupi, who, he's going to come back next year. He'll be a big part of that offense. And I think, in my opinion, you can see what this guy can do offensively, man. He can do a lot of things, and he's going to be somebody that the defenses are really going to have to look, and pay attention to next year. He'll be stronger. I don't know if he'll be any faster, but he'll definitely be stronger next year. And he's going to be a big part of this offense. And I think this offense will do better next year. 301 yards in a game. I don't know if I've ever seen a back in Rockport do that, but this was just a great performance on his part and his teammates for blocking for him, man. When I heard he got 301 yards, I was like, wow, that's great, man. And that's good. He's going to come back one more year. Hopefully he'll stay healthy next year because I think Rockport you'll go past 2 rounds next year. So a great game by John Chupi, man. Just my hat goes off to him. He played tough. And I know he was tired. He was taking some hits, man, but he was getting up. And when his number was called, he was producing. So it's great for us to have him back next year. And I'm excited to see what he'll bring, his senior year. Hopefully we'll have Luke back next year as well. Everything points that he'll be back next year, and that'll be big Luke will be a big part of what the Pirates will be doing next year because he's a handful himself, and that just opens up things for John Chupi when you got to worry about Luke. So it'll be good to hopefully have him back and healthy next year as well. Ace was a freshman. We talk about some of the passes that he threw, but I saw other things that Ace did in his playoff game. He was managing that clock. I saw a couple of times, the play was kind of running late, and I look at him, and he was just trying to hurry, and he was paying attention. We got to go, we got to go. So he was managing this game very well. Some passes got in there, some were a little short, but the future looks bright, for Rockport having this guy 3 more years to run your offense. I think he did really good. This is a freshman, in the second round of a playoff game. Guys that are 3 years older than him and a lot more experience. He did not look unexperienced to me. Some of the throws weren't there, but hey, he did a lot of things there. He looked really calm to me, and pretty much through the regular season, he started to gain. I could see that confidence in him, and just like I said, not just running the offense, but just running that clock and just being aware of that clock running down and trying to get that play off. I saw a lot of things from this freshman that excite me for next year because he'll be better next year. He'll have 1 year under his belt. Overall, we came up a little short on the offense, but nothing to put your heads down. I thought the play calling was good. I thought the game plan was good. Game plan was set for us to score. Anytime you score 30-something points, you put yourself in a position to win. And it was great calling, great execution. It's great play calling by the coaches, great game plan, and great execution by this offense. They did what they had to do. Unfortunately, came up a little short for the seniors. It's always hard. Your last game, you won't step foot on that football field anymore. But you had a great season, man. And for those that are coming back, man, I think the Rockport fans are looking for, the next year to go further than 2 rounds and get that district title. So on the offensive side, man, props to all these guys that played offense. We did good. I was really excited. And if you are a fan and you go watch the game, this is the kind of game you want to see. You hate to come in on the losing end of a game like this. Somebody has to lose, but man, it doesn't take away from the excitement. Going back and forth, we score, they score, we score, they scored, and then like Johnny says, we're right back and we're there. We just missed a play here and there that turned the ball over, but it was exciting and it was there for both teams to win. Unfortunately, Navasota came up on top and we didn't take the win, but nothing for the offense to put their heads down. Man, what a game to go watch! So I was real excited, and I look forward to the Pirates next year winning district and advancing further in the second round. Now going over to the defensive side, like we always do, I'll let Johnny go first on the defense. Johnny, your thoughts, what you saw on the defensive side?
The defensive side, I got one thing that stood out for me on that game was how these guys were popping these guys. I mean, they were taking some. I mean, we were so pumped up. I mean, we're laying them out. I mean, getting some good hits in there, which there were some all season, but this game seemed to stand out more than all the other games. I mean, um, it just showed you how pumped up our kids were. I mean, that was a big deal to it. Um, the there was a little concern on the outside I run going into this game that I had mentioned before. Um, the outside did decent, um, but the thing is, they did find a little crease up our middle, and not seeing this game recorded or televised. And I hate saying what I'm saying because I don't know what I'm really talking about because I don't know what was going on in the middle. I mean, it was they just were coming up the middle, and other games that we were getting frustrated with the outside. Yeah, they did find some things on the outside too, but they did find that up the middle. That's just the quickest way to score. Once you get by your linebackers and stuff. But um, yeah, you before we got on, they both talking about how their running backs were stutter stepping once they got past the line of scrimmage, and um, yeah, that's something you don't see pretty often, especially right a gut up the middle. You know, again, I don't know if he was trying to juke out our defensive backs. I'm just waiting on them down, block downfield, or I can't really say much about what was going on up the middle. Um, but these guys came out fighting though, man. We I was very impressed that we could snuff up that middle too. It's not like they were breaking every time. It was like give or take. You're gonna have a football game like that. They're gonna get through there sometimes, and sometimes most of the time we're gonna stuff them up. And it was just back and forth. So I'm not just picking on the middle. It's just that was the most obvious thing of the whole game was the runs up the middle, just because that's the way they scored the entire game. Um, I think our defense backs did pretty good. I really can't remember any kind of standouts. Uh, I do recall that that lateral play that I went just crazy in the stands about. The one where like the quarterback dropped back and backwards already, and the receiver had to reach out backwards to try to get it when the ball was bounced on the ground. And we're so alert that we picked it up and scored. And that's the way you see it. That's the way you play it. Um, that was just we ended up scoring. The next possession on that. Uh, because we basically got stopped and maybe they had a terrible punt. We still ended up scoring, but man, that just makes you think. If we would have scored, would we had stopped them again before the half or when the half had ran out? So it might have not been a big part of the game, but you never know what could happen. But that was big, man. But these guys were just flying. I mean, turnovers here and there, and I think we had. I remember we had a pick downfield. Um, but man, these defense backs were just all over the place. Um, that quarterback did give up some long passes though, but he had that perfect touch. I mean, he just it just man he just that quarterback was a great quarterback. Um, when I can't remember the second one after the first one went down. The second one kind of struggled a little bit, but he got in his little groove too. So that was a great. Those kids over there were very athletic all the way down. Star running back was down, assuming that he was ready injured going into the game. Because he came out that first play of the game. He was ready out. He tried to get in the second half, but uh, I think he was actually hurting the team with him being in there because he was not getting out of that backfield as fast as I'm sure he wanted. You know, so he was actually hurting the team. But man, his little backup man had a tremendous game. I mean, that was a lot of speed on that team. I mean, speed gets you there. That's a very impressive team that we just lost against. So hats off to the defense, man. That was a hard fought bottom. The entire game. Just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But yeah, that's all I got to say, really.
Tony.
Yeah, I think the defense played good. I think we allowed a few big plays that caused some scoring. That we didn't, that really hurt us. You know what I mean? It was just the big plays. That run up the middle at the end. I mean, that was just a big play. Other than that, the defense was pretty effective. You know, we started off a little sluggish. Getting behind 2 touchdowns, but then. But then the defense started really clicking, and we started making some stops and some turnovers, and then the offense started getting hot, and we were able to get back in the football game. So I think the defense played pretty good. Like Johnny said, without being able to watch film, it's really hard to say what exactly happened in the middle, because there was a lot of plays up the middle that Rockport hasn't really seen this year. A lot of the issues they've been having is containing is outside containment, and this is the first game that I can recall that they had the issue up the middle like that. But like I said, it's hard to break down and say, the linebackers weren't there, or maybe the offensive blocking scheme just really surprised us. I really don't know without really being able to tell what was going on without watching film. But I mean, for the most part, the defense was effective. You know, it's just the few big plays that we gave up. Rockport, we were driving in Navasota. They were depending on those big plays because they couldn't drive on us. So the defense was effective, and like like Johnny said about the offense, or like Gabriel said about the offense, about not getting down on yourself, or it's a good way to hang your hat. I mean, defense played a great game. When the team is not able to drive on you, and they depend on big plays to try to win a football game, that says that you're being effective. So I know we get a lot of guys back next year, so the future is looking bright, as Gabriel was saying about the offense. We get a lot of guys back on defense, including Peyton McAllister, who's a big deal on that defense. We do lose a strong safety, George, and that's going to be a big loss for the defense. He's a senior, so there's going to be some big shoes to fill back there, in the secondary. But other than that, I think the defense, did what they were supposed to do. We gave up, one too many big plays, which we couldn't bounce back from. But I think if I'm looking at this game, are trying to think what could have happened and what couldn't have happened, what calls could have went our way and which calls couldn't have. I mean, memories were made on that field, and me and Johnny played football. Your last football game that you ever play is a game you're always going to remember, and what a great football game to remember. It's losing never feels good, but man, you think about the game, and you could talk about the game, 10 years, 20 years later, and you're always going to remember how freaking great of a game it was, and how you came back from down 2 scores in the first half, and had the lead, late in the game. I mean, those are good things to remember and talk about, and they'll have that. So some schools didn't have that luxury. Some schools got blown out, in the first round and second round. So great game all around for the Pirates, but defensively, like I said, we didn't win, but uh, it was just the big plays that got us. So hats off to the defense, and nothing to be down on yourself about.
Well, I'll talk a little bit about the secondary. I knew that we were going to give up some touchdowns. I knew we weren't going to come in and shut them down. This was a good offense. So we knew they were either going to score. I mean, I thought Tony talked a little bit about, this quarterback could scramble. You didn't see much of that. We kind of contained him pretty much. This guy had about 600 plus yards on the season where he would just, kind of run. We didn't see very much of that. So we talk about, the defense being able to contain this guy. When he wanted to run, he really didn't run. He really didn't beat us that way. He got a couple of good throws, deep throws on us, but we knew this team could throw. But we get an interception. I think it's Case Flores. I think his name is Cason. Maybe I
Carson,
got that wrong. Carson
Carson.
Flores. With the great interception in the return. I think we had two interceptions. And then I think we had another one. Oh, we had one interception that was called back because roughing the passer, where I think we hit him with a helmet. But you're going after the tackle, man. I mean, that's just a referee called it. I guess he did hit him. It's just the way the ball rolls sometimes. So gave them a first down. That would have been huge for us. But again, when you go after somebody, you're not intentionally trying to hit him with a helmet. Sometimes you just go in there, you're getting blocked. Unfortunately, helmet to helmet, I think hit, if I'm calling this play correctly, and the interception was taken away, and it gave them a first down. I think they scored. That was huge. There was some turning points that happened. So we get a couple of turnovers on that secondary. Um, so we did good there. We talk a lot about the middle. I too do not know. I haven't seen a lot of video. I saw a little bit of it. I don't know what kind of blocking they were doing. Don't know what we were doing, but you rarely saw them beat us that way throughout the season. And we just couldn't make the adjustments, or maybe we did and it didn't work. I'm not sure, but you know, we needed to make a stop and we didn't. But that doesn't define how well this defense played with those interceptions and containing this quarterback. Most of the time when the other team loses or when one team loses their star running back and their star quarterback, you pretty much have a good chance and you win the game, right? But these this and your hats off to Navasota because a second string running back could have been a first string anywhere else. I mean, he was really good and he was fast. So they had some second string guys that could have been first stringers, I think, on any other team. So they were a little deep. So, Rockport, you're not going to be able to say, hey, we lost because a lack of trying. These guys left everything out on the field this past Friday, which is what you're supposed to do. And I think when you look at this, it's always sad to lose, especially for the seniors. But man, I think when you look back and you say, you know what, but I gave it everything I got. We didn't get whipped. We played a really good team and we gave ourselves an opportunity. And I think if you're a coach, that's the best you want. I heard Coach Seibert say that, we talked a little bit about his timeout. He should have used it like Johnny was talking about. But hey, you can say that now. In the moment of the game, it's really easy from a stand to criticize a coach for not doing this and that. But I guess through practice, you got things on your mind. You're thinking a lot of things, and you go, I'll get a first down, then I can use a timeout. I mean, after the play, you can second guess yourself. I should have done this, should have done that. But in that moment, and maybe you should because you got a freshman quarterback, but this guy Ace didn't play like a freshman pretty much the whole season. You had big games like in Ingleside where he was just looked like a senior right out there. And so you just take your chances. You maybe catch him off guard, and you make a call and you got to live with it. But overall, giving up those plays and couldn't make that stop did hurt us. But that's the way the ball rolls sometimes, guys. And I mean, that doesn't define the way they play defensively or the way our offense played. You know, um, but we gave ourselves a chance, and I think that's the biggest thing. When you look at it, that's if you're a coach, that's what you want from your guys. Just give yourself a chance to pull it out in the end, and that's exactly the way this game went down, and that's exactly the way Rockport they gave themselves a chance to win it. Sometimes we come out on top when we did against Miller with a big win this year. Navasota, we didn't come out on the winning side. That's the way it is. But I think for the underclassmen, it's great, man. It's a game like this is great to build on for next year. We got a lot of these guys coming back. Talked about losing, Marble this year. He'll be tough because he played a huge part last year in that Wimberley game. So hats off to the defense. Yeah, we gave up some big plays, but you were there. It wasn't from a lack of not trying. Sometimes, you know, we just take the loss. Unfortunately, this was the last game to move on, but Rockport's future looks bright. We got a lot of underclassmen. We got a quarterback that's going to come back with 1 year experience. I anticipate he'll be better. We got some defensive guys coming back. Krupa's coming back. McAllister's coming back. You got some guys down there. I think Franks will be back next year. Devin will be back next year if he's playing defense. So you're going to have some experience in that secondary and on that defensive line. I think that's really going to help out next year. So, I hated to see us lose, but it was definitely not from a lack of effort from both sides, defense and the offensive side. So, prop to these guys. Nothing to put your heads down in a season that wasn't a regular season with this pandemic. I mean, there was a lot of things these guys went through early on. They didn't play for 2 years. So this was a crazy season. So I still think it was a very successful season for Rockport. Since Coach Seibert's been here 7 years, 7 years in the playoffs. And I look forward next year. I'll call it now, guys. I think we'll win district next year. I really do believe that. Like I believe that this year with the guys we got coming back. And I look to go past the second round of the playoffs, and hopefully we'll have a season next year. So to the defense, the Gridiron says props, man. You guys offensively and defensively played one hell of a game. Just came up a little short, but nothing to put your heads down, guys. Now, before we get into the special teams and I want to talk about these refs. So Tony, I'll let you go first. We don't get fined for saying what we feel about the refs here on the Gridiron. So, what were your thoughts? What were your thoughts? And tell us the truth. What were your thoughts on the referees, man?
Well, I mean, it's easy to say, when you're on the losing end of the game, that the refs were against you, and I hate to say that, and I hate to say, and I've said this before. I mean, I think we talked about this on the Miller game because the Miller game was pretty bad too with officiating. Uh, but there was some really really big calls that really, I think could have been game changers. So we don't have instant replay. We don't have none of those kind of things. So we kind of just had to live with it. But I think it's one of the worst officiating games that I've ever seen. And I think Johnny. I was sitting with Johnny in the stands, and he was talking about how that line judge, called a lateral, and didn't try to argue his point to the head ref, and I don't see why they don't do that. You know what I mean? If that's your position, you should, stand by your call, and that didn't happen. I don't know I don't know what they talk about when they're huddling up, but I mean, you know, no one blew their whistle. It's like if they all knew that it was a fumble. I don't understand why they didn't whistle the play dead if it was a incomplete pass. So and as far as the other big call, which was the turnover, again, like Johnny said, without really being able to look back at film, it's hard to see what happened or say what happened. But I'm pretty sure that I saw, underthrown ball, our receiver lay out for it. He actually laid out for it, and he came up short, hit the ground, and bounces up. Now, if it hit his hands, maybe, I don't know. But from what I can see, from where I was at, it looked like it hit the ground, bounced up. And it looked like the guys on offense thought it was a incomplete pass because no one tried to tackle the guy right away. So, that just seemed like it was just the worst officiated game I've seen in a long time. And I thought the Miller game was, but this one trumped that one. So, I hate to see that, and but it is what it is. We could talk about the what ifs. Like I said, what if the call would have went our way, and what if the officiating would have went our way? All the way around. Could we have won? It's hard to say that because we didn't win. So it's got to think of remember the positives and move forward from that.
Johnny?
Officiating, huh? Um, yeah, it's easy to say. Well, like Tony said, it's easy to pick on these refs once you're on the losing end. And that's how I'm going to start this one. Is even though we were on the losing end of this one, and we were the winning side on the Miller game, I still think the Miller game was the worst one of all time. When they can't even get the down marker right, too, So I can't remember what plays, but I do remember that was one of the worst ones. Uh, my thing that brought me back into that Miller game was when a referee makes a call and he sees it, I don't see how what Tony said. What do they talk about in the huddle? If you see it, you got to argue your point, man. You just it makes you look horrible because you called something and you're letting somebody tell you you're wrong. Just that's just something that's that just can't happen. You know, I know a lot of fans were talking about this roughing the passer thing, and I personally saw it. It wasn't a helmet to helmet; it was a hand to the helmet thing.
Hmm.
That's what the play was, and I saw it, and I knew when that play when it was thrown, I was worried that it was going to be called, and when I saw that flag, I already knew what it was. It wasn't really a late hit. It wasn't a helmet to helmet. It was a hand to the helmet, which it's sad that it's called, but it's just safety for the quarterback. It's just like uh, and basically it ain't no judgment. It's not a judgment if it's a sap tall, a sap tap. It's just any kind of touch to the helmet. It's gonna be called. It's just like how the face mask over years got turned from a 5 yarder to a 15 yarder because that was being called on judgment calls. So it's just one straight call. Personal foul, 15 on the face mask. Same thing with this. Personal foul to the hands of the head. So it ain't no touching how light he touched it. It's anywhere you touch it, the head. So I know a lot of people had an argument about that one, but that was there. The interception that bobbled around. I mentioned earlier that we weren't sure, can't see no film or anything like that, which brings me back to my point to where like there was a referee that called it incomplete. Um, if he saw it and the other ones are talking about it, they weren't sure. You want to go with the one that actually calling it as an incomplete, and you want to stick up there. But that guy had no argument. He didn't even get in the questionable huddle that was going on. It's basically like he stayed away and let the guys that were downfield see it. It's both of them were behind the players. You know, um, well, this one's still far away from the play, but he called it incomplete. You called it incomplete, and it's incomplete. You know, um, that that's one where you want to stick up for your play. You don't want to stick up for your call. And then there was that lateral. That questionable lateral, which the main guy who should call it is that line judge, especially it's away from you, so you're standing there for one reason. You know, you're basically watching that line. You're watching for any laterals. You're watching for any quarterback running downfield that passing the line of scrimmage. So those are your calls. Those are your calls. And when you call lateral and you give a signal for your lateral, it's and you're trying to tell the referee that it's a lateral, how can that referee that's behind the quarterback see and overrule you? That's what I didn't get. Somebody that's behind a quarterback that can't really see, other than the pass going to your left, you know, that's all you see. You don't know if it's forward, you don't know what's backwards. You're guessing yourself. But you're asking for help from your line judge, and that referee overrules him just because I don't know why. What was said in that. Um, those guys, the white hat guy is there. He's basically the judge of everybody. You know, but you got people to help you run that game. You got to listen to your guys. How can you overturn your own guys and you're not even like, and that's not even his call. That shouldn't even be his call. Um, but it's just that was the main thing is like I don't like referees getting overturned because of a call they made and not like for the argument. There was a little argument going on. There was this and that, but I don't see who overturned him or why would they overturn him. And that's always been my thing is the referee got to stand up for what his call is, and because if not, it makes you look very horrible. And it's almost like you shouldn't even be there. Why even be there? Why you're basically collecting a free check, pretty much. Why even try? Might as well just sit on the track because they're going to overrule you anyway, pretty much. So that's my thoughts on the refs on that one.
Well, I'm gonna keep it clean, guys, because it's the Gridiron, and we got a lot of people to watch it. So I'm not gonna say what I actually feel. I'm gonna keep it clean and say this was bad officiating. It was bad. That's the bottom line on both sides. I think Rockport toward the end of that last score, they had a false start. It looked like to me, and they
Yeah.
let it go. Now we benefited from that, right? But that's huge. That's a huge call for Navasota because you put them 5 yards back. It's gonna cost them the game. You got to get it right. We're not gonna say, well, that's okay because
We
call it
scored on
right.
that
Do
play
the
too.
best. We did. We did. And I saw the coaches, and it looked like that's what I'm saying. I mean that's huge for that team. Just like these calls and lateral was huge for Rockport. That's huge for that team. We're not sitting here saying, "Hey, well, it's good for us." Hey, let's call it down because each play that we get wrong, it affects the outcome of or could affect the outcome of the game. So as referees, you want to get it right the best you can. You're not going to get every play right, but some of these plays, man, they were right there. Like you said, they were called a certain way and then overruled. So it's like if you don't see it, okay, you can't see everything. But somebody saw it, puts incomplete, then it's called, well, no, this is what happened. Or there's no whistle blown, like Tony says. So it's a fair ball. The boys, I think football players are taught, right? I've never been on the football field, but you're taught, I hear, you don't hear a whistle, you play till you hear the whistle, right? Because you can't see everything. So, Krupa makes a huge call. Look, I don't hear the whistle, I'm picking it up. It's what you're taught, it's what your coaches teach you. So then you come back, it seems like it's a touchdown. Then you huddle up. I don't know what they come out and they call it no touchdown. I don't see how they could have overruled that. I saw the guy, he put his hands behind the line of scrimmage to catch it. So it wasn't forward, right? Everything leads to it would be a touchdown. It wasn't. But this is bad officiating. So here's what I propose: get instant replay. Find a way to get it. You do it in the pros. I think you do it in college. Why not the high school? These games, they mean something in the playoffs. If you don't want to get it during the regular season, that's one thing. But in the playoffs, you need to get it right. You need to get it right. So, I don't know if there's a way to do that, but boy, they need to be able to get this instant replay to get these calls right. Because, you get in the end zone and you have no way of knowing if that ball got across. Ryan Wells, I think, got across one time. It looked like to me from the stats, they said no. I saw where they put the ball. I'm like, whoa, knowing Ryan Wells, I'm pretty sure he got in. But if that would have been a fourth down call, that's huge. And they say, hey, well, he didn't get in, right? That's huge. Navasota gets the ball back if that would have been a fourth down. Luckily, we had another fourth down play and we get the ball in, right? But that could have been huge. We've seen too much. You talk about the Miller game where there was bad officiating. You need to get these games right. If the officiating is good, maybe Rockport wins, maybe Miller wins, right? But that's huge. It didn't really matter. Both teams made the playoffs. It's early in the regular season. But in the playoffs, if you don't get it right in the playoffs, guys, you're going home. So in the regular season, I think you need it. But you need some type of instant replay in the playoffs where you can come back and give that judge, that umpire, right, that referee, you need to give him that opportunity to really take a look and get the play called, because this happens so many times, not just in the Rockport game, but it happens a lot of times where, they don't see everything and you get a play wrong and this causes the game. So, yeah, just kind of, look into instant replay might be a good way of getting it right. It works in the NFL, it works in college. I don't see why it wouldn't work in high school. And I haven't really thought this whole thing out, just something that came to my mind right now. Throw it out there here on the Gridiron podcast. But listen, guys, you're right. At the end of the day, we don't know if that would have gotten Rockport the victory or not, or Navasota. But that's not really the point to me. The point is get it right and then let the boys play. But get the cars right. I saw Ricky Franks get held one time. Well, that guy came all the way around and pretty much, got 35, 40 yards. And I'm watching that guy hold Ricky Franks' shot. I mean, he's holding him. I'm watching it. And you can't get rid of this guy's watching it. You see Coach Robbins run down from the sideline. I'm watching him run down and get all over there. I see Coach Cyber running down. They saw the same thing that we saw. You got to get those plays right now. Those holding calls, okay, may or may not happen. You may miss a call there. You just live with it, right? But if the ball hit the ground, that's huge. You need to be able to see that play to make sure you get it right. That forward lateral, back, whatever it was it a fumble or not? You need to be able to have instant replay to get those calls right. Those are the calls that will really change. You didn't call the whole coaches, get in there on the refs, let them know what you see. Maybe they'll see it next time, maybe they don't. But there were some huge calls that could have gone on both sides that could have made a huge difference. And so I just think you need to get it right, guys. Doesn't matter who wins. Get the calls right as best you can, and then let's see what the outcome is. That's my call. That's what I think, because this was huge, man. There was some really, really bad calls here, and we got to, the referees got to do a better job in a playoff game. We can't continue to have calls like this. That's just my opinion here on the gridiron. But before we go, and this will end the season for the Pirates. Of course, the gridiron will continue to We'll continue to have these podcasts until we crown the champions up in Dallas. We'll be talking about some other area teams. Carolina's still in it in this area. Refugio's still in it. Miller's still in it. What a great win that Miller had over the Lampasas. We'll talk about that on our predictions. I see Sinton's still in it,
Referral.
so we still got a couple of these teams. And even if they get out this next round or whatever, we'll continue to talk about these other teams in the San Antonio area, the Houston area, all the way until we get up until these teams are crowned champions. But for Rockport, this would be it for the season. What a great season it was for the Pirates. I'm proud of these guys, and I look forward to a better season next year. I can't wait. Hopefully we'll have a full season where we can get the Valley team here. It'll be an exciting season, and I hope we get a full one next year. But before we call it a day here on this podcast, right? Before we end this podcast, I should say we always give the final thoughts, and we give our final thoughts. So, Johnny, I'll go to you first. Any final thoughts on the Pirates and the season that they had, and moving forward? Anything you want to add before we end this podcast?
Man, overall, I was very proud of these guys. Hell of a season. Um, we had a little bump there in the preseason, which these guys have nothing to hang themselves up for. A few words going on out there that Rockport made the playoffs by their overall record and this and that. I did hear a few that around town, and um, no, I mean that's these guys are preparing for the playoffs pretty much. The overall record has nothing to do with their overall performance. It seems like people just assume that you got to have a 10-0 season or a 9-1, 8-2 season. That's supposed to be making you in the playoffs and this and that. But uh, I know, a few days ago, me and Tony were looking at the teams that we played against. And some of these, I think most of these teams are doing great. I think who's I just thinking of? Other than
Kincaid.
everybody's still in the playoffs, still playing their season. Uh, who's the one that's out though?
Kincaid. Oh, who's out? What do you mean?
Um, was there a team that already got eliminated that we lost to? I'm drawing a blank.
No, no.
Everybody's
They're 5A. They were 5A. Flower Bluff. They were undefeated. They just lost to Veterans Memorial.
yeah. So
San Antonio Southside is still undefeated, and Kincaid is still undefeated. So that's three teams that we lost to.
yeah, and then of course now this team that we just lost to, is still in it. So not a bad season to hang your head down. So I was very proud of the whole season. It's just sad that as a senior, this is it. But you're always gonna remember, every game, every play. Especially this last game. You're gonna you're always gonna have that what ifs. I 25, 26 years later, I still think, what if, but hey, it's always gonna, these games are always gonna stick in your head. It's exciting moments. Even the games we lost, it's always gonna stick in your head. So, these guys are really very, very promising. And good luck whatever y'all have in y'all's future. Your school and work, anything y'all do. But I do want to throw out there with y'all seniors. Don't be afraid about coming back to your school, coming back to the Gridiron and Little League football. Teaching these kids. The system. I'm pretty sure Cyberg would love these kids coming back and coaching these um, young ones. Show them that'd be a good experience for these kids. You know, they'll look up to you. You're the guy that these kids watch. They'll look up to you, so they'll have a lot of respect for you. You might think that you're 19, 20 years old coaching. You're not gonna. Nah, they looked up to you. So come back to your hometown, get out back out that on that field. Help these little kids out. You know, um, so but anyways, that was a great season. Way to end it. It's just a very promising year next year. A lot of kids are coming back. Uh, One thing I wanted to throw in there, I know Gabriel had thrown in there. No disrespect to Choopy, but even he being my little cousin, so by far no disrespect to him, is you had mentioned that you never seen a running back, get as many yards as he has. Daniel Vasquez, back in '92 did have a 400-yard performance, so I
Hmm.
didn't want that to come back to me that I knew it, so just wanted to put that out there. But hey, QB was there too, so nothing, no disrespect to that at all. I just wanted to make that clear out there. But hey, love the season, very exciting. Uh, I love losing my voice for y'all. So next year, do it again.
Absolutely. And my apologies to Daniel Vasquez. I watched this guy play. He was a tremendous athlete with speed. I mean, I used to bet money, Johnny, with people. I said, listen, man, I'll tell you what. And I'm not talking about an angle. I'm saying I'll bet you 25, 50. If Daniel Vasquez, if he breaks and there's nobody else, everybody's behind him, you won't catch him. If anybody can catch him, I'll give you $50. I never had to give anybody $50. So my apologies. I never knew. I knew he had big games. I was never told that he had that big of a game. So my apologies. But it doesn't surprise me that he would have a game like that. I watched him play every Friday night. This guy was a tremendous athlete, man, here for Rockport. So again, my apologies, man, and thank you for pointing that out. I didn't know that, but Chupi here recently, man. I mean, in this day and age, um, to be able to get, and you look at John Chupi, not 6'1", not 5'11", 210 pounds. This is a small guy, with speed. To be able to get 301. This guy's playing with a lot of heart, has athleticism, but isn't your 6'2", 240 pound with speed. This guy's always played with heart. A lot of us have seen him play in youth. So we've had a lot of guys not big in stature, man, but go back to Chase Rios when he played the same way. Chupi's playing now. We've had some guys. We have Franks last year played big. Well, you can't bring these guys down with one arm. They may not be the biggest guy, but you try to bring these guys down, you'll see them. It takes two, three guys. So this program that they have here, these guys, they may not be big, but they're built, they're strong, and they don't go down. And we've seen that with Chase, and we saw that last year with Joe Franks, and now we're seeing it this year with John Chupi. So, props to these guys for the way that they played and a tremendous game. Again, 301 yards here recently, man. That's big. So congratulations to John Chupi. And I'll pass it over to Tony now. Your final thoughts, Tony?
Yeah, I agree with Johnny. It was a great season. The record, and I've been saying this the whole time. The record does not define how great of a team that we had this year. Those teams. I kept up with those teams, and they were all undefeated. Like I said, up until last week, Flower Bluff lost to the number 9 ranked team in 5A in the state. Veterans Memorial. So other than that, I mean, we had a tough schedule going into the to the season. And then Sinton started out rough, and I don't think their schedule was as tough as ours, but they found a way to start clicking, and they got the best of us the first game of district. So other than that, I mean, man, the boys, I mean, just the way they play with each other on the field. I mean, they fight for each other. You know what I mean? I watched a lot of these guys, and coached some of these guys in youth, and been watching them since they were little, and I knew that they were going to be great players by the time they got to this level. And man, boy, was I right, because a lot of those guys just I don't want to say became good football players. They were good football players when they were little, and I think that they're great football players now. Uh, but as far as the seniors, like I said earlier, it's it doesn't never feel good to lose a game. But man, when in a year from now, 2 years from now, 10 years from now, you can think about your last football game, and man, it was a war. It was a war out there. The guys went to war, and we didn't win, but man, that's a great game to talk about. I could tell you from a fan sitting in the stands, that was just a great game to be at. Watching your hometown team lose never feels good, But man, it was just such a great game to be at. Back and forth games like that, but just you know, you had a great season, and these are memories you'll never forget. And just like Johnny said, just or Gabriel said, come around. I saw a few guys from last year at the game, supporting the boys. It's always good to see that in the stands. Watching these guys once they leave come back and support. And I think that's a big deal. And it shows the guys on the field that it means something to someone when they see their upperclassmen when they were underclassmen come to watch them play. So continue to do that and keep in touch with your team, keep in touch with your coaches, because that really does go a long way. I know you might not think it does, but it really does. So, just overall, coaches did a great job, adjusting to different offenses. We saw so many different offenses that we played against, and sometimes things went our way, sometimes they didn't. But I think for the most part, the coaches had a plan, and they went out there and they tried to execute. And like I said this game on the podcast, it's up to the boys to go out there and execute. And boy, they sure did. And it just didn't go our way. But man, they went out there and they executed. And sometimes that happens. But just a great season overall. And I'm glad to be a Pirate.
Absolutely, and I'll second that too. Listen, I'll start off first by saying I didn't mention number 8, Caden. Did I get his name right? Tony Caden Harder. Is that his name? Okay. Um, you know, this guy was a huge part of our offense, and the blocking and just going out and catching. And we didn't have him at this game, and it's sad. When the players, especially when it's your senior year, and you go down, you can't finish the season. You hate to see that, not just on any team, whether they're on your team or not. You just hate to see that because these guys go out there and they play for the love of the game, right? But sometimes that's part of the game, and as bad as it sucks, right? But it happens. I just kind of wanted to send a shout out to him, man. He was huge in some of these Rockport victories, and it would have been nice to have him there. Unfortunately, we could not. I hope he gets a speedy recovery. I know he's a great basketball player right here, and I love basketball. That was my sport. And hopefully he can recover enough to get back on the court this year. The basketball team out. So hopefully he'll be able to play that senior year. But still, man, I just want to say, young man, you played one hell of a game. I was there pretty much every Friday night and watched you play, and you play a very good game. I think he was there. I remember him when he was a sophomore, uh, playing behind. I think it was Adam Lamb. So I know I don't know about his junior year, but I know he played a little bit his sophomore year. I remember him then, and of course I remember him this year. So I just kind of wanted to send a shout out to him. Just because he didn't play this last game, he's not forgotten. He was a huge part of this Pirate football team. I think maybe even a captain. But he played big in a lot of games, and we needed him to win some of these games that we did this year. So hats off to him. He played a great game. What a great senior year. Um, Barring the injury that he had in the Ingleside game and couldn't finish the season. Luke too, but Luke will be back. But everything I hear is that he'll be back next year. So I hope that I'm hearing the information I'm getting is correct because I'd like to see him back on that football field next year. For you seniors, it was a great season. Nothing to, but you had some of you guys were there last year. You went 3 rounds. You got a taste of going 3 rounds in the playoffs. Some of you, like Ryan Wells, got to go sophomore year 3 rounds, junior year 3 rounds, and your senior year 2 rounds. So you're in the playoffs. Some of these guys that play 3 years, 2 years, never make it to the playoffs. So it's great for you guys. Underclassmen will come back next year. We expect big things, man, and no pressure on you guys, but just the expectation is huge. We're gonna get out of the region, guys, within the next 4 years, man. We got the talent, and I look forward to getting out of this region and playing some tougher teams. To the coaches, Coach Cyber's assistants. What can we say? It was another great season. They come in and ever since Coach Cyber's been here, we've been in the playoffs, man. hats off to him and Coach Robbins, the defensive coordinator, and all these coaches that have been there. Some of them have been there. Toronto, they've been there with Seibert. They get these guys prepared. I really like guys in the off season. Um, these guys are strong, man. I don't know what they do, what kind of program, but they're committed. They come out and you see on the football field. You can't knock these little guys down. They'll carry 2 or 3 guys on them. So we have an awesome program. These guys are strong and they're ready to go at the season. So I look forward to big things. So congratulations to Coach Cyber. I think it's another successful season. Didn't get to the third round like we did last year, but it's still a successful season because these coaches had to deal with a lot, not just football, but you got to make sure that these kids, with this pandemic and what's going on, it's tough. But I'd also like to say, Johnny and Tony, you guys taught um, youth foot, and that's where it starts. It starts there. These guys at 7, 8 years old, they come out on Saturdays and they play, and now we do some traveling. We're not doing it this year, but that's where it starts. That's where it starts with these guys. That's where they teach the fundamentals. That's where we got to get these guys. That's where they learn sportsmanship. That's where they learn how to play football. Win or lose, that's where you learn. And then that heads on to junior high with the coaches there, and then it leads up to Coach Seibert and those coaches. So our youth program plays a big part. We don't talk about that on the gridiron, but we will. And these guys' development as they get into junior high and high school. So also props to these coaches that are out there Saturday volunteering their time to coach these guys to get them ready when they get into junior high and then over to high school. So everybody plays a big part in our success when we get to varsity and getting into the playoffs. And so I just didn't want to leave that out. But again, great season. I'm proud of these Pirates. I'm a Pirate for life too, and I'll be there again next year. And the Gridiron will be there next year, cheering these guys on. And hopefully next year, guys, we just kind of did a trial run here on the Gridiron and Rockport. We really didn't know how things were going to go, and we'll talk about things. Hopefully next year, we'll go down there and see if the coaches will let us interview them, maybe some of the players, and see what happens next year. We'll see what kind of information we can get from Coach Cyber, some of these coaches. But if they let us, we'd definitely like to be there, kind of get an interview. That's our hometown, and also interviewing the players. Like I told the guys when we started this, it's not about belittling anybody. This is about gathering the community and showing support for these guys. They go out there, and if they can see week in and week out that we support them all throughout the week for that Friday night game, man, it's huge. And that was what I wanted to do from the get go. So that's what the Gridiron is all about. But it's also about Texas football and just kind of going out there and supporting all these other teams. The 3 of us here love football. 2 of the 3 play football. I never played. The other 2 guys that we have on the crew, the Ingleside crew, they also played football. So I was a basketball player, but that don't mean I don't love football, guys. So it was great. We'll continue making these predictions. But for Rockport, it ends here. But we'll be getting better and we'll be adding some stuff to the Gridiron for next year's season. I'm already hyped up for next season. So until then, guys, thanks a lot. Appreciate it. We'll be talking tomorrow, making predictions. We had big games. Sitting won, Miller won, Cal Allen won, Referral won. So we got some big games to talk about, but we'll do that tomorrow. But until then, guys, peace out. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you guys.
Peace out.